For decades, every gun owner in America has been told the same thing. If you want to buy a firearm, you have to go through a federal background check. No exceptions, no shortcuts. No matter who you are, the system was designed to slow things down, to put every sale under the watchful eye of the FBI's NICS program. And for years that was the unshakable rule. But in 2025, something shocking happened. Quietly, almost under the radar, the Department of Justice through the ATF made a move that flipped the script for millions of gun owners in 13 states. For the first time in years, if you have the right permit, you may not have to run through NICS at all when you buy a gun. This is not a loophole, and it's not clickbait. It's a real policy shift, buried in federal language that most people never read. But it has massive implications. On May 23, 2025, the ATF released an open letter to every federal firearms licensee FFLs, the gun shops across America, outlining how this change works. Under federal law, specifically 18 U.S.C. Section 922 subsection T, paragraph 3, FFLs can skip the NICS call if the buyer presents a qualifying state-issued permit. The catch? That permit must have been issued within the last 5 years and must have required a background check equivalent to NICS before it was granted. If those boxes are checked, the FFL doesn't have to pick up the phone. The buyer still fills out the 4,473 form. The sale is still logged, but the call to NICS, the part that can take hours, even days, vanishes. For anyone who's ever stood at the gun counter waiting for a slow NICS response, or worse, stuck in limbo with a delayed status, this is huge. I've seen guys come in with a qualifying permit, ready for the usual hassle, only to be told, "We don't need to call NICS." Their faces light up with relief. The transaction goes from a stressful wait to a 5-minute clean process. For the FFL, it's less time on the phone, less paperwork piling up, fewer customers getting angry about delays. For the buyer, it's freedom proof that if your state runs a serious vetting system, the federal government will trust it. So which states made the cut? As of mid-2025, there are 13: Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, Idaho, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Michigan, Mississippi, Montana, and North Dakota. Some of these, like Alabama and Michigan, were added only recently after the ATF reviewed their permitting systems and confirmed they were tied into federal databases. The key requirement is that the permit must be linked to an actual NICS-level background check at the time of issuance. That means checking criminal history, mental health records, and disqualifying factors the same way NICS would. Not every permit in these states qualifies. Only the ones that meet those standards, issued within the last 5 years, count. If your permit is expired, too old, or issued under a weaker system, you're back in line with everyone else. This change doesn't mean the government has gone soft. It doesn't mean background checks are disappearing. What it does mean is that the federal system is finally recognizing the work some states are already doing. For years, gun owners complained about duplicate checks. You go through a full background investigation to get a concealed carry permit, sometimes waiting weeks or months, only to walk into a gun shop and get checked all over again. It's redundant. It wastes time. It clogs the system. Now, at least in 13 states, Washington is admitting that reality. If your permit already proves you're vetted, you don't need to be vetted twice. But not every state is included, and that's where the fight begins. States like Texas and Florida, despite being politically gun-friendly, didn't make the list. Why? Because their permit processes don't tie directly into NICS-equivalent systems in a way the ATF recognizes. It's not about politics, it's about structure. If a state doesn't check the right boxes, criminal history, mental health, federal disqualifications, the ATF won't approve it. That's the wall holding many states back. The good news is that more could join the list if legislatures clean up their statutes and align their permit vetting with federal standards. Pressure works, and history shows that when gun owners demand action, things move. It's important to clear up the biggest misconception about this change. You do not get to buy a gun without a background check. That's the myth anti-gun activists are already spreading, hoping to stir panic. The truth is simpler. If you already passed the background check when you got your permit, you don't have to repeat it at the point of sale. That's all. You still fill out the paperwork. You still get denied if you're prohibited. You still face the same legal responsibilities. Nothing changes in terms of safety or eligibility. The only thing that changes is efficiency. For law-abiding permit holders, it cuts the red tape. For FFLs, it streamlines the process. Think about what that means in practice. It's the first day of hunting season, and the gun shop is packed. Normally, the phones are tied up with NICS calls, and half the customers are stuck waiting. With this policy in those 13 states, permit holders breeze through. The line moves faster. Transactions are cleaner, and the chances of the system bogging down completely shrink. Or picture the Christmas rush, when families are buying gifts, and the delays are legendary. Now, some customers can bypass the bottleneck entirely. It's a win for everyone involved except maybe the bureaucrats who love making people wait. From a historical perspective, this is also a fascinating shift. The legal framework for permit-based exemptions has been in place since the 1990s, when the Brady Act first created NICS. But for decades, the ATF was slow to update the list of qualifying states. Some that clearly met the standard were left out, stuck in bureaucratic limbo. Now, under new leadership and pressure to cut unnecessary red tape, the DOJ directed the ATF to revisit the rules. The result is this open letter, quietly expanding the list to 13 states. It's not groundbreaking in law, it's groundbreaking in tone. For once, Washington is acknowledging that concealed carry permits and responsible gun owners are legitimate. That's a subtle but powerful change. Of course, not everyone is happy. Anti-gun groups hate this development because it legitimizes permits and normalizes carry rights. They prefer the narrative that every gun sale is dangerous, unless Washington signs off in real time. They don't want people to realize that the system already works, that state-level vetting can be just as thorough, if not more so, than a quick phone call to NICS. By downplaying the news, by burying it in jargon, they hope most Americans never notice. That's why you haven't seen headlines screaming about this. It's a quiet win for gun owners, and the other side would rather pretend it didn't happen. So what happens next? If your state is on the list, the ball is in your court. Make sure your permit is valid, current, and issued within the last 5 years. If you're buying from an FFL, know your rights and present your permit with confidence. If your state isn't on the list, reach out to your legislators. Push them to align the permitting process with federal standards, so your state can join the exemption. This is one of those rare times when activism can directly improve your daily life as a gun owner. Faster sales, less hassle, and less duplication is all possible if states step up. And here's the bigger lesson. The government has shown its hand. They admitted that duplicate checks are unnecessary. That's an opening. If this logic applies to permits, why not extend it further? Why not recognize reciprocity across states? Why not streamline other parts of the firearms purchase process? Once the door is open, gun owners need to keep pushing it wider. At the end of the day, this change is not about loopholes, shortcuts, or bending the rules. It's about efficiency. It's about trusting the systems already in place. It's about saving time for law-abiding people who have already been vetted, while still maintaining the safeguards that keep guns out of the wrong hands. For years, we were told it couldn't be done. Now, in 13 states, it's being done. So here's the question I'll leave you with. If your state qualified, would you use your permit to skip the NICS call at the counter? Or do you think every sale should still go through the same redundant check? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because this debate is just getting started. And as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because the next breakdown I bring you will be even more shocking than this one.